You'll notice at the end, there's really good teams I did not include in this, but it's based on this morning, based on available players. Who do I think are the top 10 teams in the NFL? Here we go.
Herd hierarchy.
Time is now. Let's go.
The top 10 NFL teams according to Colin. Number 10.
LA Chargers. I waited to watch that game, and my takeaway is they're a 56-yard field goal by Greg Zuerlein from being undefeated. But they kind of gave that Dallas game away, and I don't trust the franchise yet. I think they're being, as Peter Schrager said, very deliberate in how they're coaching this team. I think Justin Herbert will only get better. I do worry about Austin Eckler's health. He's going to join us in 45 minutes live. There's a lot to like. Here's the most important thing. Their head coach, Brandon Staley, was the Rams' defensive coordinator. He blew the Chargers away in the interview. Every week, they have held their opponent to their lowest offensive total. This is a defensive story as much as an offensive story. Chargers at 10.
Number 9.
Cleveland at 9. This is not a knock on Cleveland because they played the Chargers this week, and the spread is like a point. Right now, Cleveland's defense feels like it's better than Cleveland's offense. Jarvis Landry, we told you, he is the soul of this team. OBJ and Baker, for whatever reasons, just don't have the symmetry. I'll tell you what, though, that was really impressive is that on Kirk Cousins' 40 dropbacks, the Browns pressured him 22 times, and almost all of them came only rushing 4. That is a real factor. They are not bringing extra people, and they are getting substantial pressure on the opposing quarterbacks. This is a very good team. This is not a knock putting them at number 9. I just don't think if Jarvis Landry's not available, I can't put him higher because he's really valuable, clearly, for this offense.
Number 8.
The Chiefs, who beat Cleveland and worked for it. Listen, their defense is a huge concern. They can't get teams off the field, but they've had 1 3-and-out all year. They've had 6 punts all year. This is an offensive story. This is Oklahoma Sooner football. Are they good enough to win a national title? I don't know. But offensively, it's wizardry. Mahomes is now 40-10 through his first 50 starts. They're smartly coached. Mahomes is tremendous, but I do worry that their defense allows you to make Mahomes a spectator for long stretches.
Number 7.
The Dallas Cowboys. For the first time in a decade, I think they're underrated. I think between Trayvon Diggs and Micah Parsons, they have 2 sensational stars on defense. These are playmakers. Micah Parsons is a playmaker. Trayvon Diggs is a top 3 or 4 corner. The defense is fast. It is athletic. Dan Quinn, this is what he does as a coordinator, makes his players better. Dak Prescott. Sam Darnold was running for his life in this game. And Carolina, this is a really good defense, and the Cowboys scored 36 points against it. A lot of people overvalue the Cowboys. I try to stay away from it, but I think they have entered the Super Bowl bubble. This is a real football team with excellent leadership with Dak Prescott.
Number 6.
Tampa Bay. This is really out of respect for Arians and Brady. They're not playing like the 6th best team in the league. Their passing defense is the worst in the NFL. And they're also the 2nd most penalized team. Now, Bruce Arians' teams tend to be loose and play with a lot of energy and emotion. I do not love what I'm seeing there. They're hurting themselves a lot. But, they didn't play particularly well, went on the road and beat Belichick. There is value. I may trust them more than any team in this league in a close game. And right now their defense is not good enough to blow people out. So I think it really comes down to trust. I think if they play all but a handful of teams, they win because they're so good 3 minutes and less in the game.
Number 5.
The Rams, who beat the Buccaneers. Now, I just think I'll say this. I'll give them a little bit of a pass for Arizona. Number 1 is they came off almost a Super Bowl energy game against Tampa. It felt like a playoff game, and they were completely flat. I mean, you could tell 2 series in. Matt Stafford missed on his long throws. They could not get Kyler Murray off the field. I thought it was just a good team with a stinker. It's like I said about Baker Mayfield. I'm not crushing him because he had a bad game. It's hard to win in this league. I still believe defensively they're elite, and I do believe the play calling is telling you far less play action than they had with Jared Goff. They absolutely trust Matt Stafford to throw the ball down the field. As I often say on the show, What a coach calls tells you what he thinks of his personnel. If they're doing a lot of zone, they don't trust their corners. They're doing man-to-man, which the Cowboys are doing more of. They trust their corners. This coaching staff trusts Stafford and trusts this defense.
Number 4.
Arizona beat the Rams. They're spectacular. It's amazing. 3 of the 4 games are on the road, and they're the only undefeated team left. They're really explosive. They're really dynamic, and they brought on J.J. Watt for the leadership component. Kyler Murray, first time he'd beaten the Rams. That's significant. He was 0 for 4. Cliff Kingsbury had been owned. This is a real tipping point win for them. This was a big win. McVay had owned Kingsbury. This bursts it through. Only team in the league, 400-plus yards and 30-plus points in every game.
Number 3.
Green Bay. I still don't think they're hitting on all cylinders. The reason I put them number 3 is because the Steelers have a fairly vaunted pass rush, and yet Aaron Rodgers was pressured on only 18% of the dropbacks. That's very impressive. So they're getting the offensive line in shape, and that's been our primary concern, that and the lack of a number 2 pass receiver. Randall Cobb had an excellent game. So the emergence of Randall Cobb, who Aaron Rodgers trusts, I've always thought their defense is better than people give it credit for. Green Bay at 3.
Number 2.
Baltimore. Folks, how long are you people going to hold to this Lamar Jackson can't throw the football? Get over it. Get over it. He can throw the football. In fact, I looked up a stat this morning. He averages 12.1 air yards per attempt and 14.4 yards per completion. That's both the highest in the NFL. It doesn't look pretty. It doesn't. It's Phillip Rivers. It can be really ugly. The ball gets there. He throws guys. He doesn't throw them open as much as an Aaron Rodgers. We got to get over this. He can't throw. It ain't pretty, but he is so dynamic running the football. It opens up passing opportunities that other young quarterbacks like a Mac Jones will never get. I've said this before. When you're great at something, literally great at something, you don't have to be great at everything. So he gets passing lanes created because linebackers have to stick like glue to the play to the very last second to play honest football against this run game. And that opens up. How many times does he throw the ball to a wide open tight end or receiver? The answer is often.
Number 1.
A franchise I've fallen in love with. They're so smart and well run. The Buffalo Bills. Best point differential in the NFL. It's not just winning. If you go to the history of the Super Bowl, the team that has lots of blowouts, that steamrolls teams, usually has a personnel and coaching advantage. They are blowing people out. They've trailed just 11 minutes all season. They've had not a stigma. They've had an issue the last couple of years, and it's been a lack of a consistent pass rush. This is a really, really well-run organization. From the owner to the GM to the coach to the quarterback to the coordinator, they just keep adding these elements for Josh Allen. And when you watch them play, folks, they are putting heat on you from every angle. And if you're not ready for it, I don't even count the week 1 loss to the Steelers. I swear to God, the week 1 for half these teams felt like the final week of the preseason because nobody played their starters. So since week 2 on, I think they're the best team in the NFL. And with that, we bring on, oh, by the way, no Seahawks. Why? What do they do well besides Russell Wilson? You tell me what they do well. No Denver Broncos. Well, Teddy Bridgewater is concussed, so today he wouldn't play. So I can't put that team with Drew Lock in my top 10. Raiders, I still think they're close. I don't think the Raiders were going to win that game last night. That's just one of those things. You ever go on a date and you know 5 minutes in it's not going to work? Happens. I mean, not to me, of course, but I've heard the stories for years and years. The next guy that's coming on our show, he's a terrific journalist and a reporter and an author.